She had never expected to see him again. After months of silence, after the cold space that had grown between them, the last thing she imagined was running into him on a sunlit afternoon. And yet, there he was, standing by the old fountain in the park, his figure catching the golden glow of the late afternoon sun. Her heart raced as her eyes met his. It was a mix of shock, disbelief, and something deeper, something she had not admitted to herself in a long time. He looked different, older perhaps, but not worn. The lines on his face were subtle, like shadows marking the passage of time. His eyes carried weight, a kind of seriousness that had never been there before. And still, he smiled, a small, tentative smile that felt like a bridge reaching toward her after all these months. "I didn't think I'd see you again," he said, quietly. His voice was low, almost careful, like he was testing the waters before stepping into a pool he wasn't sure he could swim in. She swallowed hard, her throat dry, and forced a smile. "Life has a way of surprising us," she replied, trying to sound casual, even as her heart beat erratically. Her fingers fidgeted with the strap of her bag, betraying her attempt at calm. He noticed, of course, and his smile softened further. It was familiar and strange all at once. They walked together slowly, stepping over puddles from last night's rain. Words came at first in cautious fragments, awkwardly reconnecting the rhythm they had once shared. Then laughter started to flow, light and easy, like it used to. They remembered small, silly things from their past, an argument over ice cream flavors, a shared joke no one else would understand. For a brief moment, it felt like nothing had changed. But beneath the surface, she sensed a tension, a storm hovering quietly in his gaze. They reached a quiet square where the sunlight filtered through the leaves of a lone maple tree. He stopped and turned to her, hands stuffed loosely in his pockets, shoulders tense. "I've missed this," he admitted softly, and she realized he wasn't just talking about the park or the laughter. They were talking about her, about what they had shared. Her chest tightened, and a rush of warmth and fear hit her all at once. Me too," she whispered. The words felt too small for the emotions surging inside her. They sat on a nearby bench, and silence settled between them. It wasn't uncomfortable, it was heavy with unspoken truths. She noticed subtle changes, his hands slightly trembling, his jaw set tightly, and a distant look in his eyes that didn't belong to the man she once knew. There was something he needed to say, she could feel it, and it both terrified and intrigued her. She wanted to ask, to push for the words, but fear kept her quiet. Minutes passed, stretching into an hour. The shadows grew long as the sun dipped lower, painting the city in soft amber light. And then, just when she thought she might have to break the silence herself, he leaned slightly closer. His voice dropped to a whisper, carrying a weight that made her stomach twist. "I never stopped thinking about you," he said. Her breath caught. Her mind stuttered. She had imagined this moment countless times, wondered what it would feel like, and now that it was here, it was overwhelming. He looked at her with a raw honesty that left her exposed, wanting, and yet cautious. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. She simply nodded, trying to keep her emotions contained, though her heart raced like a drum. He reached out as if to take her hand, but hesitated, pulling back almost immediately. The air between them was thick, charged with energy and longing, and it left her feeling both light and heavy at the same time. She wanted to reach for him, to close the distance fully, but there was a sense of fragility in the moment, a delicate line that could not yet be crossed. He ran a hand through his hair, eyes shifting to the ground. "I don't have much time," he murmured. The words were almost too light to hear, but they struck her like a blow. She froze. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. He shook his head, a tight, almost apologetic smile on his lips. "It's complicated," he said. The ambiguity only made her heart pound harder. She could feel the urgency radiating from him, the invisible clock ticking down somewhere she could not see. Her mind raced, trying to guess what it meant, but nothing made sense. The park around them continued its quiet rhythm, the rustling leaves, the distant hum of the city, a dog barking in the distance, but their world felt suspended, trapped in the tension between words spoken and words withheld. The air grew cooler as evening approached, and with it, an ache in her chest that she could not ignore. She wanted clarity, answers, certainty, but all she had was the fragile presence of someone she had once loved, someone who now seemed to carry a secret heavy enough to change everything. She felt a mixture of hope and dread, a duality that made her pulse race and her hands tremble. He finally looked up, meeting her gaze with eyes that shimmered with emotion. There was something different now, something deliberate and almost final in his expression. "I have to tell you something," he said, voice firm but soft, "but I don't know how you'll take it." The hesitation, the careful wording, only deepened the tension, leaving her on the edge of a revelation that could not yet be named. Her chest tightened, her heart caught in a net of anticipation. Every instinct screamed to ask, to demand, to know the truth, but she resisted, waiting. The minutes stretched like hours, the world moving around them while time between them felt paused. She felt the gravity of the moment, the importance of whatever he was about to say, and it filled her with both hope and fear. The sun dipped lower, painting the city in soft amber and violet hues, casting long shadows that seemed to echo the weight between them. She realized in that moment that this encounter was more than coincidence. It was fate, or perhaps a final chance, a moment designed to leave a mark, to change the course of both their lives. Her mind wandered, imagining the worst and the best, and yet she clung to the hope that he had returned not to leave her heartbroken, but to offer a new beginning. The vulnerability in his eyes mirrored the one she felt within herself, a truth unspoken, a story paused, waiting for its next chapter. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Her heart pounded, her thoughts raced, and she knew that whatever came next would define the rest of her life. Would he confess something she had longed to hear, or would the truth be something she was not ready to face? She could feel the edge of revelation, sharp and precise, just beyond the words, and as he inhaled sharply, preparing to speak, she realized that this moment, this fleeting, fragile encounter, was only the beginning. He took a deep breath, and she could see the tension ripple across his face. His fingers brushed the edge of the bench, hesitant, as if the words he carried were heavier than the world itself. She waited, heart pounding, every second stretching longer than the last. The city hummed around them, but it felt distant, like they were suspended in a bubble where only the truth mattered. "I should have told you earlier," he began, voice low, almost breaking, "but I didn't know how, and now it feels like time is slipping away from me." She leaned closer instinctively, drawn to the vulnerability in his eyes. It was the same man she had loved once, but stronger, tempered by experience and regret. Her hand twitched, almost reaching for his, but she held back. I had to leave," he said, eyes dropping to the ground. "Back then, I thought it was the only way to fix things, but leaving you, leaving us, it was the hardest decision of my life." She swallowed hard, feeling the familiar ache that came from words that matched the memories she had buried deep inside her heart. The memory of empty nights, unanswered calls, the echo of his absence, it all came rushing back. He looked up suddenly, eyes locking with hers. "I never stopped thinking about you, not once. Every day, I wondered if you'd forgive me, if I'd get another chance to explain, to make things right." Her chest tightened. Every word struck her like it was being carved directly into her soul. She wanted to speak, to tell him she had missed him too, but the lump in her throat made her voice disappear. They walked again, this time in silence, letting the shadows guide them. The streetlights flickered on, one by one, casting a gentle glow that softened the tension in the air. He stopped near a small cafe that had been their favorite spot years ago. Memories flooded back, the laughter over shared desserts, the quiet conversations over coffee, the stolen glances that had once made her heart race. "I kept myself busy," he admitted softly, almost as if confessing a crime. "Work, friends, everything. But nothing could fill the space you left behind." She wanted to reach out and touch his arm, to tell him that the emptiness she felt had mirrored his own, but she stayed still, letting the words sink in. He looked down at his shoes, then back at her. "And now, I don't have much time. Not in the way I want, at least. There are things I need to say, things I need to make sure you know before it's too late." Her stomach knotted. The seriousness in his tone, the weight of his gaze, it was all too much, yet she felt herself drawn in, unable to step away. "Why didn't you come back sooner?" she asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper. He shook his head slowly, a faint, sad smile tugging at his lips. "I thought I could handle it on my own. I thought I could fix my mistakes without dragging you back into the mess. But I was wrong, so wrong." The wind rustled the leaves above them, scattering a few down onto the sidewalk. They danced around their feet like confetti in a celebration of pain and hope intertwined. She wanted to ask him everything, all at once, but the words seemed too fragile to form. Instead, she waited, letting the quiet between them speak volumes. "I never stopped loving you," he said suddenly, the words clear, raw, and unguarded. Her heart leapt and sank at the same time. It wasn't a question. It was a confession. It was the truth she had been afraid to hear, yet had secretly hoped for all these years. She felt tears prick the corners of her eyes, and she swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay composed. He took a step closer, and she could feel the warmth radiating from him, a warmth she had longed for in sleepless nights. "I know I hurt you. I know leaving was cruel, but I had my reasons, even if they weren't good enough. Please, try to understand." His voice cracked slightly, and she realized he had been carrying this weight alone for far too long. She wanted to speak, to tell him that she had survived, that she had waited, that she had never truly let go, but words felt small against the magnitude of the moment. So instead, she just looked at him, eyes wide, heart open, silently saying everything she couldn't put into sentences. The cafe's neon sign buzzed softly above them, painting their faces in gentle pink and blue light. He glanced at it, then back at her. "I need to tell you something else," he said, more serious this time. It's the hardest thing I'll ever have to say." Her stomach turned, a mixture of fear and anticipation tightening in her chest. She nodded, ready, even if she wasn't sure she could handle it. He inhaled sharply, his chest rising and falling with a weight that made her ache. "I don't have long, not the way I hoped. There are things I can't change, and I've lived with that every day since I left. But I need you to know, before it's too late." She reached out, finally letting her hand hover near his, trembling. He saw it and gave a small, sad smile, as if understanding her fear and hope all at once. The city around them seemed to pause. Traffic lights blinked slowly, a distant dog barked, but it all felt muted, irrelevant. Nothing existed except this fragile, fleeting moment between them. She could feel the gravity of it pressing down, a quiet insistence that this moment would define everything after it. He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them, revealing a vulnerability so deep it almost knocked her off balance. "Whatever happens next, I want you to remember that I've always cared. that nothing in this world could make me stop thinking about you." Her heart clenched. The words were both a comfort and a warning. She wanted to cling to him, to beg for more time, more chances, but even the thought seemed impossible. A breeze swept through the street, carrying the scent of rain and distant flowers. It wrapped around them, gentle and almost magical, as if the world itself was holding its breath. She realized, in that moment, that whatever he was about to reveal, it would change everything. And she was ready to hear it, no matter the pain, no matter the heartbreak. He looked at her one last time before stepping back slightly, his face a mixture of determination and sorrow. "I have to speak now. I need you to listen carefully, because these words, they might be the last I get to say." Her heart lurched, a mixture of fear and anticipation, as she leaned closer, ready to catch every word, every truth, every secret he had kept hidden for so long. He took a long, steadying breath, and she could see the weight of his words pressing down on him. His hands trembled slightly as he looked at her, as if holding back a torrent of truth. "I should have told you everything sooner," he began, voice low and almost breaking. "I wanted to, so many times, but I was afraid of losing you again, afraid you wouldn't understand." She stayed silent, leaning in slightly, her heart pounding. Every word he spoke seemed to carry the years of regret he had held in his chest. The park around them had emptied, leaving only the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant hum of the city. It felt like they were the only two people left in the world, suspended in a fragile moment that could shatter at any second. "I left because I thought it was best for you," he continued. "I thought I was protecting you from the mess I was in, the choices I had to make. But leaving you was the hardest mistake I've ever made." His eyes glistened in the fading light, and she felt her chest tighten. The ache in her heart she had buried for months now rose, raw and insistent. She wanted to speak, to tell him it was okay, to say she had understood, but no words came. Instead, she just looked at him, feeling the truth of every sentence settle into her bones. It was the man she had loved, the one she had waited for in her quiet moments, the one who had haunted her thoughts even in his absence. "I never stopped thinking about you," he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "Every day, every hour, I wondered if you'd forgive me, if I'd ever get another chance to see you again, to tell you how much you meant to me." She felt tears prick the corners of her eyes, and she swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay composed. Her heart ached with a mix of longing and relief. He stepped closer, and she could feel the warmth radiating from him, the familiar comfort she had missed for so long. "I know I hurt you," he said softly. "I know leaving was cruel, and I'm sorry for every moment I made you feel alone, but I had my reasons, even if they weren't good enough." She wanted to speak, to comfort him, to tell him it wasn't his fault, but the words seemed too small for the weight of the moment. So instead, she stayed silent, letting her presence be the answer he couldn't find elsewhere. She could see the vulnerability in him, a rare honesty that left her both heartbroken and hopeful. "I don't have much time left," he admitted finally, his voice quiet but steady. "Not the kind of time I wish I had. There are things I need to say, things you need to hear before it's too late." Her heart skipped a beat. Every instinct in her body told her to hold on to him, to beg for more moments, more chances, more time. But the urgency in his eyes left no room for delay. The shadows lengthened around them as the sun dipped lower. Streetlights flickered on, casting a warm glow over the pavement. He looked at her, and she could see the mix of fear and determination in his gaze. "I don't know if you'll understand," he said softly, "but I need to tell you. The truth about why I left and why I couldn't come back sooner. Her chest tightened. She had imagined this moment for months, but nothing could prepare her for the intensity of it. She nodded slowly, silently urging him to speak, to release the words he had kept locked away for so long. He took another deep breath, as if gathering every ounce of courage he had left. I had to deal with things I couldn't tell you about, he said. Responsibilities, mistakes, and choices that would have hurt you more if you knew. I thought I was protecting you, but all I did was hurt both of us. His voice broke slightly, and she felt tears threaten to fall. She wanted to reach for him, to let him know she forgave him, but she stayed still, letting him speak. Through all of it, though, he continued, his eyes never leaving hers, I never stopped loving you, not for a second. Every moment without you reminded me of what I had lost, what I had let slip away. And every moment I spent trying to fix my mistakes, I hoped you'd still be there. She felt her heart ache, the raw emotion overwhelming her. She had waited, hoping, longing, never imagining he had felt the same weight of loss and regret. The silence between them grew thick with unspoken feelings, but she didn't move away. She couldn't. She was tethered to him by every memory, every hope, every heartbeat that had once belonged to him. I know this is sudden, he said finally, and I know it might be too much to take in, but I had to see you, had to tell you before it became impossible. Her stomach nodded, fear mingling with anticipation. The way he said those words made it clear that whatever he was about to reveal next could change everything. The city seemed to fade around them, leaving only the two of them in a suspended moment. She could feel the weight of the world pressing down, and yet, paradoxically, it felt like freedom. The truth, whatever it was about to be laid bare, and she knew she had to be ready to hear it. I don't know how to say this, he admitted, voice trembling slightly, and I don't know if you'll forgive me, but I need you to know. He paused, searching for the words. She leaned in, heart in her throat, ready for whatever revelation was coming. He started, then faltered, and her breath caught. There was so much unsaid, so much history, so much love and regret tangled together in the space between them. She realized, in that moment, that whatever came next would shape the rest of their lives forever. A soft breeze swept through, carrying with it the scent of rain and distant flowers. It wrapped around them like a gentle reminder of the fleeting nature of time, urging them to hold on, to listen, to feel. She could see the determination in his eyes, the mix of hope and fear, and she knew that this was the moment she had been waiting for, without even realizing it. And then, finally, he took another deep breath, his eyes shining with a mixture of sorrow and love. Whatever I say now, he whispered, I need you to hear me, fully, completely, because this is the last chance I get to tell you the truth. Her heart lurched, her chest tightened, and every nerve in her body screamed to hold him, to never let go. She leaned in, bracing herself for the words that could break her heart, or perhaps, finally, mend it. He swallowed hard, his chest rising and falling unevenly. The weight of the moment pressed on him, yet he stood tall, determined to speak the words he had carried for so long. She could feel the gravity in the air, heavy, yet fragile, as if the next sentence would shift everything between them. I should have told you sooner, he began again, quieter this time, almost like confessing a secret to the world. I left not because I didn't care, but because I was afraid that the truth would push you away, afraid I'd lose you forever. And maybe I already had. Her heart clenched. Every word he said pierced through the walls she had built around her heart. She wanted to step closer, to reach out, but she hesitated, letting him find the courage he needed to continue. She could see the regret in his eyes, the kind that years could not erase, the kind that left a permanent mark. "I had to deal with things on my own," he said, voice trembling slightly. "Mistakes I made, responsibilities I couldn't share, choices I couldn't explain. I thought leaving was protecting you, but all it did was hurt us both. I lost time, and I lost you, and I've regretted it every day since." Tears pricked her eyes, but she refused to blink them away. She wanted to feel every ounce of his honesty, to absorb the truth he had waited so long to reveal. She had imagined this conversation for years, but reality, raw, unfiltered, emotional, was far more intense than she had ever anticipated. "I never stopped thinking about you," he said, his voice breaking now, and she could see the vulnerability he had hidden behind his composure. Not once. Every day, I wished I could fix my mistakes, come back, tell you how much I loved you. But the timing, it was never right. "And now, I don't have much time left." Her chest tightened. The urgency in his words made her heart race. The fear of what he meant by not much time clawed at her, but she pushed it down, clinging to his presence, the truth that he was here now, finally speaking. She could feel the fragility of the moment, the way it hung between them like glass ready to shatter. "I have to tell you something," he continued, taking a slow, deliberate breath. "Something I should have said years ago, and it's going to hurt, but you need to hear it. I need you to know everything before it's too late." She leaned closer instinctively, her pulse quickening. Whatever he was about to reveal, she knew it would change her forever. He paused, running a hand through his hair. I didn't just leave because of fear or responsibility. There was something else, something I couldn't control, something I had to face alone. And I was wrong to think I could protect you by leaving. I see that now. I was selfish. The admission hit her like a wave, leaving her breathless. The man she had waited for, loved, and silently hoped for was standing before her, stripped bare by honesty and regret. Every emotion she had buried came rushing back: hope, longing, sorrow, and a deep, aching love. "I've carried this every day," he said, voice breaking completely now. "The thought of never seeing you again, never telling you, it haunted me. And even when I tried to move forward, even when I tried to distract myself, every moment reminded me of what I lost, of you." Her hands trembled, and her chest felt too tight to breathe. She wanted to tell him everything, to scream that she had never stopped thinking about him either, but the words felt trapped in her throat. Instead, she let her silence speak, letting him feel the truth in her eyes, in the way she leaned slightly closer, holding her breath, holding herself steady. "I don't know how much time I have," he said finally, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Not the kind I want, but I need to tell you the truth. I need you to hear it before." His voice faltered, and she could see the fear in his eyes, the uncertainty that mirrored her own. Her mind raced, heart pounding, as she braced herself. What could be so urgent, so final, that it had taken him all these years to admit it? And yet, she felt a strange calm amidst the storm. Calm born from knowing that he was here, that he had chosen this moment to speak, to be honest, to reveal his heart completely. "I love you," he said finally, voice soft, raw, and unguarded. "I've loved you every day, every hour since the moment I left. I never stopped, even when I tried to convince myself that I could. And now I don't have much time to prove it, but I want you to know that nothing in this world could make me stop loving you." Her chest ached, tears finally slipping down her cheeks. She had imagined these words for years, longed for them in the silence of nights spent missing him, and now they were here, real, raw, undeniable. She wanted to reach for him, to hold him close, to never let him go, but something in his expression froze her in place, a quiet, gentle warning that there was more, something she had yet to hear. "I have to tell you one last thing," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Something I couldn't say before, something I feared would change everything. But you need to hear it, for both our sakes." She leaned forward, heart hammering, ready to catch every word, every truth he had hidden for so long. The city around them seemed to fade, leaving only the two of them, suspended in a moment that felt both fragile and eternal. Every shadow, every light, every distant sound blurred into insignificance. All that existed was him, her, and the words he was about to say, the words that would either heal or break their hearts completely. She held her breath, waiting, praying, her soul bracing for the revelation. And as he finally opened his mouth to speak, she knew that everything, her past, her present, and her future, hinged on what came next. He looked at her, eyes glistening with tears and determination. The words he was about to say trembled on his lips, heavy with emotion, with truth, with everything he had carried for years. She held her breath, her heart pounding so loudly she thought he might hear it. "I have to tell you the last thing," he whispered, voice breaking. "Something I should have said the moment I left, but I didn't know how, and now I don't have much time." Her chest tightened, fear and anticipation mixed in a storm she couldn't calm. She leaned closer, ready to hear the words that could change everything. "I've been sick," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's serious, and I don't know how much longer I have." Her heart froze. The urgency, the tension, the way he avoided her gaze for a moment, it all clicked. The absence of months, the silence, the reason he had left. It wasn't distance, it was fate's cruel hand. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't move away. She reached for him, taking his hand in hers. It was warm, alive, and fragile all at once. He squeezed back, a small, sad smile tugging at his lips. "I didn't want you to know like this. I wanted more time, more days, more months, maybe years. But life didn't allow it." She shook her head, trembling. "Don't say that. Don't let it end like this." He held her gaze, steady and unwavering. "I needed you to know that leaving you, staying away, it never meant I stopped loving you. Every heartbeat, every thought, every moment was yours." The world around them seemed to disappear. Streetlights, passing cars, distant chatter, all of it faded. There was only them. Her tears fell freely now, hot and unrestrained, and she let herself feel the flood of emotions she had held back for years. Love, sorrow, regret, hope, all mingled into one overwhelming force that left her trembling. "I never wanted to hurt you," he said, voice catching again. "I thought I was protecting you. I thought leaving was the right choice, but I was wrong, and I've lived with that mistake every single day." She held his face gently, fingers brushing against the lines life had carved into him. "You don't have to explain anymore," she whispered. "I understand. I always have." He closed his eyes for a moment, letting her words sink in, letting himself breathe in the comfort he had denied himself for so long. "I wanted to spend forever with you," he said softly. "I wanted to make up for all the lost time, but I can't. Not in the way I hoped." Her chest ached, but she refused to let despair take her. She wanted to hold him, to keep him safe, to steal back every moment that had been lost. "Then let's make these moments count," she said firmly, voice soft but unwavering. "Here, now, whatever time we have, let's live it together." He smiled, small and bittersweet, tears spilling down his cheeks. "Yes," he whispered, "I want that, more than anything." They stayed there, hand in hand, hearts beating together as the world moved around them. For the first time in years, the past felt lighter, the present sharper, and the future uncertain but precious. They talked, laughed softly, reminisced, and held each other close. The pain of lost time was still there, but the love had returned stronger than ever. Every smile, every glance, every gentle touch was a promise, a declaration, a fleeting eternity wrapped in a single moment. As night fell, the stars appeared, scattered across the sky like silver sparks. She leaned her head against his shoulder, letting herself feel every heartbeat, every warmth, every second of this fragile, perfect now. He whispered her name softly, each syllable a prayer, a confession, a vow. "I'm here," she said, tears wetting his shirt. "I've never left. I'm not going anywhere." His hands tightened around hers, holding her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered, and maybe she was. They stayed like that for hours, talking quietly, sometimes in silence, letting the night wrap around them. It was enough. It had to be enough. They had found each other again, even if fate had limited the time they were allowed. And in that small, miraculous bubble of togetherness, nothing else mattered. Finally, he looked into her eyes one last time, soft, vulnerable, unafraid. "I love you," he said simply, words that carried every regret, every hope, every longing from the past years. "And I always will." She smiled through her tears, brushing her fingers against his cheek. "I love you too," she said, softly, clearly, with all the emotion she had held inside. Always. They held each other tightly as the city slept around them. Time could not undo the love they had rediscovered, the bond they had rebuilt. And though tomorrow was uncertain, tonight belonged entirely to them. Their hearts, their laughter, their memories, their love, shining like a quiet, unstoppable light in the darkness. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. The end.